Hey, it's Melissa. I'm the writer and publisher at Wanging Dude Publishing. And, one of the things I thought about, I have my book sitting here in front of me. And I thought one of the things I haven't done is actually read part of the book. I've told you about it, and I've kind of mentioned it's about my health and mentioned, I talk a little bit of my sexuality. I'm going to read you the introduction. And I thought that's what I would do here so that you would have a much better idea of what is in the book that's going to be released on May 26th. So the introduction goes as this. You look a little peaked. That was what my mother, Millie Pete, would say to me when I didn't appear healthy. Being a Southern family, we pronounced it peaked because, just a side note, it's pecked is the proper pronunciation. Did you know that? But as a Southerner, we call it peaked. And I looked that way far too often for my mother's comfort. It didn't help that at the age of 7, I developed dark circles under my eyes, a hereditary gift from my father and his mother that made me look sick most of the time. Again, a side note, if you ever notice on these videos that my eyes tend to look a little sick or dark circle, it's that way all the time. Able to tan well, my darkened skin obscured my raccoon eyes to the point you would barely notice them then. One winter, Millie Pete bought a sun lamp to combat my natural pale state. Lying on the couch with protective eyewear sized for a second grader, I would sun just my face so that my mother would feel better when she looked at me. My mother was my first best friend and a compassionate advocate for me over many years, while also being responsible for 2 much older siblings. However, I always knew I was different somehow and felt disconnected from the rest of my family. My first nightmare, when I was 4, reflected this feeling. In my dream, we stopped at a Pizza Hut during a trip to Kentucky to see extended family. As I walked down the long hallway to the cashier, I noticed my family wasn't there. Through a window, I saw them speed off down the highway. Abandoned, I headed toward a table, but before I could get there, the ground shook and screaming patrons hit the floor to barricade themselves behind furniture. I was horrified to see the shadow of giant figures marching in to get us. These giant figures turned out to be red plastic tumblers from Pizza Hut, chanting in a demented military cadence. It was only a dream, but the sensation of being responsible for saving my own life at such a young age was impactful. Before any symptoms showed up, I sensed danger, and it turned out to be a fear only I would be able to quell. I've spent most of my life forced to consider my physical health in every situation. But time has revealed this burden as a powerful whetstone on which the knife of my character has been sharpened. Not many people in my life have been able to relate to my condition, so it's my hope that this book will reach those who feel frustrated or lonely in their own bodies. Being sick doesn't have to be all bad, and the fact that I've made it to middle age is a privilege. At least that's what I tell myself when I have trouble getting up from retrieving my son's toy from under the couch. We tend to categorize our lives as we get older by either time or experiences. Many use the decades of their existence as a yardstick for life. I see my life divided into 3 parts thus far: growing up, life after my kidney transplant, and life after the COVID-19 pandemic. This memoir follows those divisions. Illness has not been my only experience, and it's not the only experience I share in this book. I am a lesbian and offer both good and bad memories of what comes with being part of that minority. I've also enjoyed being a successful media personality and share how that came about and describe some of the celebrities I have met along the way. Yet, despite my many dimensions and many tales, my life seems to always come back to one main theme. My body just isn't built like most bodies, and I feel different because of it. I have been on a lifelong journey to learn not to hate myself because of my body's peculiarities. This book tells the story of that journey. A glaring omission from this book is a list of friends who were key to my successes. Throughout my life, I have known so many beautiful individuals who have offered a smile, a laugh, or an act of kindness or support that kept my spirit in the right place. Yet, as I put together this book, I was reminded of my media training. Know when to go to commercial, meaning don't let the story get too bogged down or go too long. Because I knew I couldn't mention everyone, I decided to identify by their real names only medical professionals vital to my physical survival or those I had talked about previously on the radio. And even those people are still referenced by their fake on air names. This includes family members, as only my mother made appearances on my radio shows. So my father, sister, and brother will be referenced generically as such. For readers who used to listen to me, you may just be learning that I rarely used anyone's real name when I was on the air. I did that so I would not have to restrict my stories for fear of damaging their reputation, and the practice gave them the ability to deny ever knowing me. I'm following the same reasoning for this book. No one I know needs to feel nervous when reading this. This is my story, and the embarrassing tales are only about me. Well, except for one about my dad, but I'm sure he will laugh too, wherever he is. And finally, I want to thank you. I have stacks of books I have yet to read, and oftentimes talk myself out of buying anything new to keep the stack from toppling over. I assume the same applies to your life, so for you to dedicate your time and money to my story is incredibly moving. I hope you find something meaningful within these pages to hold on to well after you have finished reading them. So that's the introduction to the book. Now, when when I have read that so many times since I'm doing the audiobook and have done an audiobook, and so the fact that I didn't like choke up or tear through that is shows you how much I've read it. Where when I first wrote it, I teared up a little bit, and when I first read it, I teared up a little bit. So I've made the joke when you listen to the audiobook, there'll be times where I sound a little nasally, and the reason is I've probably just cut out the portion in which I cried and had to redo it over. But that's the introduction. And so if it gives you any insight of what the book is going to be about and the journey of the book, I hope it makes you want to read it or share this with people who may benefit from it. But it is a work of love and a work of passion because it is my own life. But it's been interesting to relive some of the experiences within the book and then have to relive it again doing the audiobook. But it's my story and I share it with you. So thank you so much for being a part of the channel. There's ways to support it down below. And I hope you take care and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.